IVM.
Hi, I'm Rohan Joshi, and on my podcast, the show about crypto, I've been having some pretty cool conversations with industry experts about what exactly cryptocurrency is and what makes it so exciting. If you haven't already, please check it out on the IVM Podcasts Network. Now, a quick shout out to my fellow crypto heads. We've got a listener survey going on, which will take not more than 10 minutes of your time to fill out. So please check the link in the description and help me out by filling it up. Don't forget to tune into a show about crypto on the IVM app and wherever you get your podcasts from.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 168 of Shunya One, continuing our mini-series of talking to very interesting direct-consumer brands. Amit, how are you doing? How do you like this one today?
This one was good, man. I mean, so this is a brand that I've been kind of interested in because, you see them on Instagram a lot. At least I see them on Instagram a lot, right?
I saw them early on. I bought them in the way back when it was unheard of, I guess, in beyond popular public. I've been an early adopter.
No, so I bought one pair from them a while ago as well, right? I like them. I think they're really good, right? I think that I like the idea of these cloth shoes, which are cool on the feet and not too kind of I think Taran talks about this a little bit in the conversation about how you can wear these for like long periods of time compared to leather shoes. But it's a really interesting brand, and I really like the sustainable aspects of it too. I think that's really interesting in terms of how they're approaching this.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And, there's a lot we cover on this episode about shoes in general, of course, and the kind of intense research these guys have been doing to give this product to us. So, yes, let's jump right in. We're talking to Taran Chhabra, the co-founder of Neeman's, a very, very cool direct-to-consumer brand. So let's take a break and come back and listen to this episode.
Going for parties is just so frustrating these days. I mean, your mom will make it a point to come and tell you how her friend's son has secured a house for her, and your wife will also find out that her sister's husband is taking her on a foreign holiday, while you're wondering why you're the only one who doesn't have a plan for the damn future. That's why I never sleep well during the festive time. Unless... www.hdfclife.com. Select. Done. You know what? I think I'll sleep rather well after all. Live calm. With HDFC Life, click to protect life. The Income Plus option offers life cover and steady income stream, so you're always ready for any expenses that life throws at you. Basically, this plan lets you plan your expenses like you plan your vacations. It's that simple. Visit hdfclife.com to know more and for terms and conditions.
Hey, Taran, welcome to Shunya One. Thank you for being our guest today. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Amit. Thanks so much, Shiladitya. Pleasure being on the show.
Yes, and you've running an iconic, interesting brand for some time now. And I was sharing earlier offline that I actually saw Neeman's way back, probably when you guys launched in the early days, and as a fascinating new kind of footwear, because the promise was sockless shoes, which I could just wear, be comfortable in all day. And I bought a pair early on, and I loved it. It was, I think those were the days I was traveling a lot. So whether it was an airplane, whether it was walking around in the office in the air conditioning, those woolen shoes were amazing.
Thanks so much.
But yeah, I mean, work from home, I am not wearing too many shoes. but
you
please tell us.
Yes, you got to get a flip-flops.
But tell us the story, Taran. I mean, what's been the story? What's been the origins of this brand for your own story as an entrepreneur? If you could help us.
Of course, right. So I come from a data background, right. I was in the US for about a decade, right. I went from India in 2007, did my master's in computer science, and worked in different parts of the US. Right. My core background is data strategy, business strategy, and juggling around different parts of New York is what I was doing up for a living up there. And my day started at 6 a.m, right? I was staying in New Jersey. I used to work in Philadelphia. I used to run through the train station. So that involved a running shoe. And then take an hour and a half of train, get down at the train station, run again to Philadelphia or downtown to where I was working. Then I used to put on a leather shoe, which I used to hate.
Oh, wow.
Then after
I
3-4
remember those.
hours, I should take them off again, put on my running shoe back, and then go for lunch, right? So this was a normal behavior that I had gotten into, right, up there. And I still remember my basement was full of sneakers. I had owned maybe 150 pair of shoes back then. And this purchase behavior was not driven by my love for brands. It was purely driven by my frustration of not being able to wear something that I truly loved in terms of comfort, right? And I used to talk to my friends and a lot of family, and the struggles that I had was very synonymous. And back in 2016, when we were in fact traveling to Spain, right, and we're doing completely opposite of what should be done in a Euro trip. My wife was traveling with one pair of shoes, and I had 5 different pairs of shoes. Right, I had a different suitcase just for me. I had a running shoe. I had a walking shoe, yes, because of course brands categorized running as walking with 2 different characteristics, right? I had a work shoe I was there for a few days of work. I had an evening lounging shoe, right? Because if you imagine, your running shoe is so bulky, you can't wear it at work. Your work shoe is made with leather, right? Which kind of restricts the movement of your foot. It kind of compresses it. So you can't wear it for 4-5 hours in a day, right? And then if you're out in an evening party, that involved a different characteristic or a different type of shoe. And a bunch of events during this whole travel experience, right, kind of left me wondering as to why don't I do something about this frustration. That's when I started talking to a lot of people in India, a lot of people in the US. We did a bunch of research and came up with Neeman's. We spent about 2 years, material design, research, created the entire supply chain. And the day we launched Neeman's is the day I quit my job in the US and came back to India.
Wow, great.
Very good. I have one question for you, which is maybe not so product related,
Sure.
but just kind of has to do with where I'm from. Why would you work in Philadelphia and live in New Jersey of all places? Why wouldn't you live in Philadelphia? It's a much better place to live.
It's a classic case of what happens after marriage, right? My wife used to work in New York and she loved New York to the core, right? I think if I was single,
that's a long train journey every day.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's 100 miles.
Yeah, it is. And then I started working from home a lot. And I think I'm a true workaholic in that sense. And I told them that I'm more productive when I'm home rather than traveling. And then I left that job. I started consulting and taking up only remote projects. So it was an interesting journey from 2016 to 2018. How I paced my travel and learned about footwear and launched Neeman's.
I would think so. Even I'm a fan of Neeman's in that sense, right? I've always liked the non-traditional material shoes. And so, it really does work well. But how difficult was it, in a world of, where leather is so predominant in India, right? In that sense, how difficult was it to kind of get people okay with the idea that, you can use these kinds of slightly, these off-center materials or non-traditional materials, right, for shoes? How difficult was it to kind of convince people around that particular idea? The consumer rather than the investor.
Right. I think we had our fair share of learnings along the way in our journey, right? And while we were brainstorming and we came up with the idea that this is going to be comfort and sustainability driven, right? Because as an individual, right, or as founders, we truly believed in, doing good for the ecosystem, right? Doing good for the environment and using materials that were sustainable in nature, that existed within the ecosystem. But that was the easier part, right? That was then, how do you make these products, right? So we made a list of a bunch of materials. We started with cotton, we started with hemp, bamboo, recycled materials, and then we looked at merino wool, which is our premium product. We loved what merino wool brought to the table, right? And post we launched it, we looked at levers of what's going to be the adaption journey, right? How are going to people know about us, right? We had a couple of options. One, to go the traditional way footwear is being sold in India, which is predominantly wholesaler driven, distributor driven. We said if Neeman's is sitting on a shelf with Nike, people are not going to pick up Neeman's if they don't know what it stands for. So a store is not going to work. A wholesaler is not going to work. We got to do it ourselves, right? And we started looking at content. We said startup founders could adopt us, right? Technology geeks could adopt us because we were reaching out to the geeky people, right? We did a campaign on Twitter, right? We started looking at LinkedIn. We started using a bunch of content levers. And what we did is we made footwear feature driven, just like electronics. We said the brand has just started. So people don't know what Neeman's is, right? We started more on the product. We started more on the technology, which is wool, which is the product, right? We said this is comfortable because this is made with wool. For the first time, a shoe can be worn sockless. We said temperature regulating. We said no odor. We said, India's first ever merino wool footwear. The ease of use and machine washable, right? So for the longest, people have either been value driven, which is sold at sub 500, 800 rupees in India, or the best of brands, Nikes or Adidas or Pumas of the world, which is completely brand driven. There's no one that stands in between, right? There's no Indian brand today that's built aspiration, that's used innovation, that's used product differentiation. So we said we got to be that brand. So I think content started working well phenomenally. Within a few months, people started trying us out, repeats started coming in, all kinds of questions started pouring in. So we knew we were down the right path per se, right, of consumer engagement and then pushing them towards a purchase.
Yeah, and that's also a very interesting product line that you're talking about, right? I mean, obviously, the shoes market, like you said, is absolutely well defined like this. It's the roadside shoes you can buy, if I have to put it very crudely, to the people who care about the brand they're wearing, and of course, the specialist sort of the athletic side of shoe buying. But this product led sort of selling that you guys focused on, and you saw the early movers on. So when did you see that, okay, this is a demand? Like, why did you say, I can just speaking for myself, I think sockless was what attracted me. I remember now that you mentioned it, washability was what attracted me. Did you go about seeing that this was a problem area where people worried about, like, hey, my shoes are difficult to wash, or hey, I want to wear sockless? Like, how did you know that this would even take? Like, what kind of research went into that market?
Right. So this is moving towards convenience, right? Or what is stopping people from wearing a shoe to 12, 14 hours, right? And this is where, as founders, a lot of our frustration went in, right? Like, none of us come from a traditional consumer or a manufacturing background or a footwear background. We looked at it deep dive from a consumer struggle, right? What's the buying behavior? Where do they go? At what price do they spend? And what do they typically expect? And what do they don't expect? And when we came across merino as a material, we said this is going to be revolutionary, right? Because imagine if we told people you can wear a shoe sockless. Imagine you can wear it in summer and in winter with the same ease, because this material behaves basis the temperature of our foot, right? So this is very dependent on the outside temperature and the body temperature of the wearer, right? So this was led to a lot of research that we had done in India and in the US, saying what would be game changing for you. Why are you not wearing a shoe for 8 hours? Why are you not wearing a shoe for 10 hours? And then we started doing a bunch of trials. I still remember we gifted 500 pairs of our shoes, right, to different people and said, just wear it. Right? Just wear it. And I still remember a bunch of people who are wearing those prototypes for the last 4 years, right? The bad thing is that they haven't bought after that, but the good thing is they're still wearing it. Right? So it was a surprise to a lot of people, right, on how thin these materials appeared, but how durable they could be. Because we are so used to rigid materials that the initial, 5 to 7% of the people said, this is not going to be durable. I'm so used to wearing leather. This is something else. I don't even think this will last a couple of months. And then we were very, very bullish. We said, wear it even after a year. We are going to take it back, right? Don't worry, we are here, right? This is a no questions asked refund today or 12 months down the road. So yeah, it was a lot of our perception, what we thought would be, game changing or will help adaption, and that helped.
Interesting. You're going down just one more line on that category that you are in, right? Which is it's again footwear. That itself, I think, now coming to the direct selling part of it, right? How could you define the focus on brand versus focus on distribution versus focus on product, price point? Like, what were those early levers that you used to, let's say, beyond the influencer set, which you just spoke about? When did this convert to a real business? Like, at what click did you see that, okay, now I'm going to go multi SKU, I'm going to do, length and breadth of footwear?
I think from day one, right, since we started looking at footwear, right, I think I'd made over 350 prototypes from our early set of manufacturers, right? And from that day onwards, I used to talk to my friends in the US and say, I see this working out and I'm going to quit my job, right? So I think from day one, that madness was there. I'd pitched to several people in Silicon Valley and they said, you got to be crazy to quit your job in the US and go back to India. Don't do it. The first investor I pitched to India told me to go back to the US, right? So from day one, I think the more people said no, the more conviction I got that this is going to be a great product. Because I truly was seeing the transition from the first sample to the 100, 200 product. And I'd seen that this product could mean a lot to a deep set of people, right? But then when we were launching, we always wanted to reduce our SKU. One, we were bootstrapped. Two, we wanted to improve the buying behavior. Now you walk into a multi-branded store, right? Or you browse any Western website, right? It has 30 different categories. Within each category, there are a zillion pairs to shop from. The buying behavior online is completely broken. There is no way you can figure out the right pair within a few minutes. Now, when I was actively running in the US, I used to read blogs for days before deciding what's going to be my right pair. So I said, it shouldn't be that difficult. You give people the best when you truly believe that's the best, and you just give them a couple of pairs, right? Make the behavior, make the decision making a couple of minutes, right? And truly make the whole journey to buy a pair super easy online. Hence, we started with 3 styles, just 3 colors in each style. We did that for a good year. In a year, we had a certain set of customers, 15 odd repeat percentage. We raised our first round. And then we said, we know these products are doing well. Let's not add 100 different products. We introduced 10 new colors in each product. We again went deeper as a category, right? So that's just how we've implemented, because we always knew 80% of your sales come from 20% of your best product. So why have, so many styles and so many colors, right? Just limit your catalog and get a very, very deep volume from it.
And this is such an interesting contrast to, there's another subculture of footwear, which is like so huge, where people are sneakerheads and there are the Yeezys of the world and whatnot, right? Trying to be unique and scarce. And here you are trying to give everyone just 10 choices and say, everyone just wear one of these 10.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that both these worlds exist with such customer love. And that's amazing to see.
I think, there's different behaviors of consumers, right? And one market is to make it limited, right? One market is to make it scarce and make it limited edition. While we have started to introduce limited edition as well, and there are some pairs that it's very difficult for us to keep them in stock. We sell like 500 units at times the moment it's launched, right? And that love has started to come in, and now we've started to look at a few limited editions just so that people enjoy a certain color, they buy it, and that's never sold again. So to make them feel more privileged, and that's something also we're trying to leverage, right? Why shy away from it? Yeah.
Nice. All right. I have a bunch of more questions, obviously. Taran, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk a little bit more about Neeman.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are 0 charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into A Show About Crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IBM Podcasts. Coin switch. कुछ तो बदलेगा.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Taran, I mean, you've been telling us the story of Neeman's, obviously the why, the how, what you guys have built. Let's get into a little more detail, I think, on, the product again. It's fascinating how you use the technology analogy, like how people today buy phones with features. You guys are selling shoes with features, but the tech is really, really important behind what you guys have built. I mean, it's not just manufacturing tech. There's also obviously the entire, the selling, the direct consumer e-commerce bit as well. So talk us through a few of the decisions around that and, how you guys are standing out.
Sure. I think it all started with, what's our premier goal, right? Our premier goal is, again, to craft an exceptionally comfortable footwear. And make no mistake, it's exceptionally comfortable. That's designed to be worn for 12, 14 hours a day. Plus, it is made with, most naturally available, renewable, and recycled materials today in our ecosystem. And when we looked at the horizon, we said, what should be our first material that we should go after? Right? After a bunch of prototypes, it was very, very clear that merino wool is going to be a standout material for us. Now, the decision that we had to make was, this is a very premium fiber. So it's going to launch the product at a premium pricing, which we wanted to do, right? Because we wanted to have our first early set of consumers feel very, very special. And they also know, what Neeman stands for as a product, right? And then we started speaking to a bunch of people in India, overseas, and we created the entire supply chain, which was very, very unique because nobody in India heard about this material.
That was one of my questions, right? I mean, like, I wanted to understand a little bit about how did you set up this is a fairly large supply chain of merino wool, which is as you mentioned, just a really unusual material in India in that sense, right? I mean, like, I've seen a few suits here and there, but mostly it's not that popular a thing. And so for that matter,
I've seen
like
winter wear actually.
It's not that much though. Yeah. I get the decision, but I mean, like, how'd you go about doing that, right? I mean, like, to set up your line of supply for it.
Right. So globally, there were only two brands who had explored merino wool in footwear, right? And they were making in very different parts of the world. One was in Italy and the other was in Austria. We started speaking to a bunch of Indian manufacturers, right? And none of them wanted to explore this route because they were into exporting merino wool socks and t-shirts, which is a very different technology, right? And now you spoke about merino wool in jackets, and Raymond's does that, right? And it's a very expensive jacket. And it's a more, roughy kind of material of merino wool. What we wanted to use is more premium, thin, softer material so that it feels like cashmere, right? It kind of feels like you're walking on clouds. And so we reached out to a company in Australia. They are called the Woolmark Company. They are a non-profit organization funded by Australian government and Australian merino wool farmers. So I went to their Hong Kong office, went to their New York office, came to their India office and told them to collaborate with us, right? Give us the technical know-how and work with us, right? They were obviously apprehensive because they had been in India for 20 years and they couldn't make merino wool truly adaptable, right? Because Raymond's was using it, Brooks Brothers was using it, but this is very, very premium pricing. And we said, we'll make merino wool, the next big thing, right? We'll make it adaptable by a common person. So it took several pitches and they introduced and we worked with several manufacturers in South Korea, Australia. So we took the manufacturing out of India, right? And we made about 8 to 10 different types of fabrics, which were durable, which were designed for Indian weather conditions, right? So we had done elaborate weather testing. I still remember I wore it to Mexico where it was about 55 degrees, right? And said, okay, if I can survive that temperature, right, then India is good for it. So it was a year and a half of effort, back and forth. And we have still kept it in Korea because we don't think the quality can be attained. Now we are working with some of the largest people in India to, craft a similar material just so that we have more supply chains. But yeah, a lot of back and forth, a lot of know-how in And from the consumer point of view, testing in various scenarios, helped us build an initial supply chain.
I've been looking at your website every so often, right? Because I keep trying to see if your wool loafers become available in size 12, which doesn't seem to be happening. Sorry to kind of give you customer complaint here, but but I keep going to check, right? And I saw the PET shoes recently, and the cotton I think has been there for a while. But I mean, like, what are the why the decisions in terms of like PET plastic, right? I know that you have a sustainable agenda, but I mean, like, that seems like an unusual recycled plastic seems like an unusual choice to make, right? In terms of material for shoes. Why those kinds of?
Sure. So once we started with wool, right, and wool started doing well, and just to elaborate, our fabric is made outside India, but our product is assembled in India. So all our materials are 100% made in India, right? And that's by thought process that being a sustainable brand, we shouldn't make our products travel so much because then the carbon emission increases. And post wool, we said, what's going to increase our adaption, right? What's going to increase, what's going to get a Gen Z adopt to Neeman's, right? What's going to get a millennial to look at Neeman's, right? And we so loved cotton. Cotton is a natural material that's been available for so long. Plus, it's very, very affordable. So we made it better. We coupled it with recycled cotton, and we launched our Cotton Classic sneakers, right? So we started with merino wool, right? And it was just one product. It's a product-driven company. But from a product-driven company, we always wanted to make it a brand which hosts a bunch of different sustainable technologies, creating different types of footwear. And of course, cotton is way more affordable and helps us diversify our audience as well. Now, there are people who are buying Vans, there are people who are buying Converse, right? Why should they buy a Western brand? Why can't they look at an amazing Indian brand? And cotton was an answer to those set of audience, and it does very well for us. Post that, now plastic bottles per se is a major problem within the ecosystem. Now, we as a brand, we can't stop the consumption of plastic bottles, but we could do something about it. Now, so to elaborate, what happens after a plastic is consumed? It can't be recycled. So it gets dumped into landfills or oceans. And our marine life tends to consume this plastic, be that plastic bags, be that plastic bottles, and we are harming and we are creating an imbalance within the ecosystem. So being a sustainable brand, we follow the concept of circular economy. Now, what circular economy means is you consume anything that is available within the ecosystem. Now, a natural material is available within the ecosystem, right? Sheep grow their skin year after year. So that's a natural material. We consume sheep. Cotton comes from plants. We're not doing anything to craft it. It's naturally available. Now, plastic bottles is available. It can't be recycled. So what we do is we collect those plastic bottles from oceans, landfills. We recycle them. We crush them. We create small plastic pellets. From those plastic pellets, we create a yarn. And from that yarn, we make a shoe. So basically what we're doing is we are using a plastic bottle to create recycled polyester. So we are using something that was about to harm the environment to create a new product. So that goes back to the concept of circular economy, where consumption of energy is less and the pollution is also less. And plus we do our part in cleaning up the oceans and landfills. We've close to 3 million plastic bottles already.
Sorry, how many?
Close to 3 million plastic bottles.
3 million.
Millions.
Okay.
And we call this collection the Relive collection, because something that's lost its life, we are giving it new life, hence Relive.
I've seen this. Obviously, I've seen this entire the campaign you've done, the promotions you do around it. Obviously, it's amazing to see the value you are delivering because of this, just from a sustainability angle. But I've been keen to always, and I see, and a lot of brands do this, right? I think recycled plastic has started to finally show up in more places as well. Especially I think even in the shoe market, even in the big brands. I know some brands are trying to do
this.
It's
good that they've adapted to it, right? And I think this is something that we've always been very vocal about, that people will come into this and it's going to help the ecosystem because they are going to use better materials, be that for a short-term gimmick or be that from a long-term value perspective. We want other people to make with sustainable materials.
My question was more around the details of How easy or hard is it to really do this? I mean, you just mentioned you collect from landfills, you collect from, like, there's a massive amount of processing and hence cost and hence overheads that you guys are investing in creating this product versus the traditional one. So obviously, since you've a conscious decision to do it, you're willing to take the efforts. But how hard or easy is it this today? I mean, from a like plastic bottle to yarn and a shoe,
So I
tomorrow it
think
could be something else, right? So
yeah,
just wanted to
I think
understand that.
as the ecosystem is evolving, right, the costs are going to come down. Now we thought about Relive as a collection 2 years ago, right? So it did take a lot of time in finding the right factory, convincing them, and again to find a factory who could build a supply chain, right? Who had a larger unit of plastic crushing, who could work with us, collaborate with us, even though our quantities in the beginning were not deep enough. I think now our quantities are large enough to meet any larger international brands, right? So hence, the costs were slightly higher, right? Because one is when you're buying a product that's already available in the shelf, right? It's going to be more affordable, right? It's made in bulk. It's made for the masses, and it's often has a lot of chemicals that are involved, so the costs are lower. But what we are doing is we're building an entire supply chain, so the cost slightly goes up in terms of manufacturing. But we've tried our best, wherein we've taken up the costs on our end and said we'll not let the consumer pay a premium because he's buying a sustainable product. Because in the end, this is not a social enterprise. We are building a lifestyle brand which we want people to buy, and it has to be affordable as well, right? Hence, we've taken say 10% of the cost on us, saying we'll still price it at a certain range so that it doesn't become expensive and people don't buy us.
But what you're saying is that it's now technically is solved. I mean, there is a it's possible to effectively crush plastic and create a shoe. So which gives all of us hope. And as an entrepreneur community, whoever's listening could probably think of building more things with such recycling capabilities available in the market today.
Of course, there are amazing brands that have started to use recycled plastic in apparel. There is socks. One of my friends launched electronics with recycled plastic. So I think there's a bunch of very smart entrepreneurs who are adopting to sustainable technologies.
That's great. This gives us finally a lot of hope for sustainable materials to finally make it mainstream in the marketplace. Taran, just a little thought on maybe now on the selling to consumers directly piece. Obviously, you've invested a lot of time and effort planning your brand, the material, the product. What about your go-to-market? How has that been? And can you tell us in these 4 years how you've seen that change? I mean, especially the last 2 years maybe of the pandemic. For a brand like yours, I'd imagine there were both highs and lows, in contrast to let's say D2C brands, which have mostly seen higher adoption. So could you tell us about that a little bit and where you guys are today in terms of scale?
Yeah. So I think we were very, very clear, right, that it's going to be a digital channel which is going to evolve onto offline, and then experimental stores and co-working spaces. So we always were focused from day one that it's going to start from online, then go on to marketplaces, then stores, and then store in stores, right? So from day one, that was the thought process. And we started looking at how do we reduce the apprehensions of people, right? Now, there are multiple issues that you encounter in footwear, right? Sizing is very different from brands. Different material makes sizing different. But what we did was our materials are very stretchable and breathable. That's for sizing, right? And our exchanges are maybe 1/3 of the industry, right? That's because how we've solved for material. And hence we were able to grow a lot faster. But during COVID, I think we started getting to a lot of issues. One with demand, right? And we were very resonating to the fact that people are stuck at home. How do you push them to buy more footwear? Right? It's not fair where they are battling their health situation, right? To try, shoving a shoe saying go buy this, right? And we started positioning our shoe as a great work from home or a workout driven shoe, right? Which is a trend that we started seeing picking up because exercise was becoming the need of the hour. I think cycling picked up, run picked up, right? Long walks picked up. And one of our categories, which is, truly a 12, 14 hour, can be worn for long walks, started doing exceptional volumes. But we had some trouble in the supply chain, right? Which was global. The timelines were increasing. And that's when we brought all our manufacturing to India and we made it 100% assembly in India. I think since then, it's been pretty good as a brand. We've grown, multiple fold, launched new technologies, launched India's first ever flip-flop that's again made with recycled tires, right? Which people wouldn't have imagined, saying tires and flip-flops. And that is doing very well for us. Very peppy colors, right? So I think it's very important how we've taken sustainability and changed the core of it. 5 years ago, sustainable products looked ugly, right? So it was you're actually foregoing something to do something good for the environment. We said that shouldn't be the case. A sustainable product should look good, should feel good, should be extremely stylish, right? And it should be comparable to any other product that you buy from. If we could solve for that, then we'll increase the adoption for it, right? And now even legacy Indian brands are looking at sustainability, which is very, very good science.
Nice. I mean, that's great to see. And of course, in spite of that, you mentioned COVID, you guys have obviously innovated. I definitely have to try the slip-ons, which you recommended. And so, as a closing note, Taran, where are if people who've been listening to this show, where are you reachable? Do you want to do a shout out to the kind of folks who would love to, talk to you, get into not just maybe D2C, but sustainable products or anything else? What's the best place to reach you? And do you want to plug anything else for people who are looking to know more?
Right. So I think, I'll drop in my email address. I'm best reachable via email. I'm at Chhabra, TCHHABRA @neemans.com, NEEMANS.com. I'm pretty prompt on my emails. I respond very, very quickly. So if you have any questions, if you need any brainstorming, any help, I work with, still a very early entrepreneur, but I'm always there to bounce off any ideas and help the ecosystem. And if you want to connect, drop me a note. I'm happy to chat.
Awesome. Great. I'd also like to just quickly remind everybody, if you enjoyed this conversation that we had right now with Taran, please do let somebody know, tell a friend. That is really helpful to spread the word about the show. Also, do give us a rating or review wherever you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube. Those help as well.
Yes, absolutely. Super. And, Taran, thank you so much for doing this and telling us about the journey of Neeman's. We'll, of course, keep a watch of all the cool things and limited editions that show up. So, wishing you and the whole team all the best. And this is really amazing work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. And Amit, to answer your question, we started off wool with a very limited sizing to see how people like wool in a drive-in loafer, and the response has been truly terrific. And it's tough to keep them in stock, but we are introducing a UK 12, and I'm going to take your contact information, and I will remember to send you a pair the day we launch it. Right?
Yeah, please, that would be amazing, because I wanted to get I wanted laceless, right? I mean, like I was looking for a laceless wool, and that was the laceless version that was there. Yeah. And I keep checking every couple of days, every couple of weeks or so. Yeah.
No, please don't. I will send you. It's gonna be a few weeks until they come back. It's a new size altogether. We've never had a 12, but we will get them back very soon.
The sheep are scared, Amit. They're like, what? For one shoe? How much of me do you want?
Yeah, that's true, actually, but can't help the big feet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Taran. This was an amazing chat. Thank you.
Hey,
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, film producer Siddharth Roy Kapoor joins Cyrus to talk about his latest web series, Rocket Boys. On Shunya One, Shiladitya and I meet Aditya Sharma. He's the co-founder at the Soul Store. We talk to him about how the popular brand came to be and what their journey has been like. On a show about crypto, Rohan talks to Rahul Sanghi, co-founder at Tiger Feathers. They explore Web 3.0 and its advantages and disadvantages. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav weaves a fascinating story that connects Gujaratis, Uganda, and the last king of Scotland. And on Hanswani, we hear the story Bhoot Ka Kalakar. It explores the conflict between art and its artists. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, please do tell a friend. It really does help us when you spread the word about our podcast. And I'd also like to ask you if you could rate or recommend wherever you listen to our podcast. And speaking of where you listen to this show, if you're on an Android phone, do check out our new Android app. We have a brand new app with a brand new listening experience. Definitely check it out. I think you will enjoy it. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Paisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.